Hello and welcome to Delaney Studios YouTube channel. Today I'll be teaching you how to draw this pen art lion. So what you'll need today is a 2B pencil for planning, a black pen or blue pen, can be a ballpoint pen or a felt tip pen, doesn't matter, an eraser and a kneadable rubber to lighten up your lines. And you will be working in portrait today. So I'm going to zoom in for you and let's get started. Okay, so I've got my 2B pencil here ready to start, and of course we're going to do guidelines first. So guidelines are very soft and light, so we can rub them out later, so don't press. So I'm going to say the end of my line's face is going to come roughly to here. The top of the head about here. The ear, I want to make sure I have a little bit of room left to do some main lines. And I'm going to say the chin around about here. So I've got a rough shape of where my face is going to fit. That's step one. Step two is break it down into shapes. So most animals are made up of circles, okay, in their heads. So what I'm going to do first is a large circle for the jaw area and then a smaller circle for the snout area. So I always go really soft first just to get my head around the right shape that I want. Then I go a bit harder. So that's about the size. You don't want it to be too big, so it's not even half the page. End of the nose, much smaller. Overlaps a little bit, so it kind of looks like the number 8 fallen over. And that's breaking it down into shapes. So that's the most basic shapes. So step 3, join the shapes so they make some kind of sense. And just remember, this is all in pencil, not pen yet. I'm just creating the profile of the lion. The face doesn't have to come all the way out to the edges of your circle. You can just plan it how you think it needs to be. The same line's going to finish about here. It's my mouth line. So quite boxy. My mane will come up this way, and I've still got plenty of room for an ear. So I can place in where my chin's going to go, and my nose might come out a little bit more, and my second cheek. It's kind of like the letter Y upside down. And I'll show you a close-up of the chin and face later. And then you've got your chin going from your circle to the bottom of your head circle. All right, I'm going to show you a close-up of that. I'm going to clean it up a little bit and then I'll do a zoom in. Okay, here's the close-up of the snout or the front of the face. So you've got where the nose is going to fit, you've got the cheek in the background, you've got the cheek in the foreground, and you've got your chin shape, and the chin shape joins to your head circle. A little bit of a close-up for you. If you need to pause the video to copy that, go for it. Okay, so we've joined our shapes together. Now we've got our detail, which is our last step. So detail includes eyes, mane, nose, and all of that sort of stuff. So I'm going to just plan out where the beginning of my mane is sort of going to start, which is this lovely little curve at the front of the face here. And there's a whole tuft of hair that happens here, and then the ear fits in place. So I'm just going to pop the ear in. It's like a big sad mouth. And then a little happy mouth underneath. It's fine if you go over your guideline, that's okay. Then from here, what you want to do is make sure your ear lines up. If you were to put a guideline in the middle of where your nose goes, it should line up with the middle of the ear. So that kind of angle. So just do a double check. Then what you want to do is get your eraser. You want to get rid of all your guidelines. We actually don't need them anymore, including your guide circles that we used for the face. It's okay if you rub out any original lines, you just pop them back in again. You can see the importance of drawing really softly. It's so much easier to rub out guidelines. You're not spending forever trying to rub them out. That's our rough shape. And we can start planning out more of the mane. So I'm just going to do a couple of little stripes. I'm going to change direction around the ear. I'll obviously do way more detail in this in the pen, but I just want to plan it with my pencil first. So these are all just curved lines. I've got tufts of hair inside the ear. So I'm just doing backwards and forwards little stripes and spikes. And then I've got a mane that cuts through. So you can see I've done curves, curves, curves. And then this is where your other lines can start coming in, so little spikes. And you can make these up. You do not have to copy mine. So just really rough idea. So it kind of looks like the end of a fancy ribbon. Two little prongs there. And we can start planning out the nose. Don't forget, if you're not up to that step, just pause the video. A nice curvy line. And join it up. This mouth will get a bit thicker in the corner, so there's a bit of a loop in the corner. And just like we've done a lot of times before, that angle that joins the center of the nose to the center of the ear, that's actually where our eye is going to sit. Remember the eye line? If an animal's ear is taller than its eye, you can use this little guideline to help you place the eye. This line's eye is closed, it's sort of enjoying the sunshine, but if you want to do an open eye, that's fine. I would just get a reference picture. So because this is a closed eye, that's all I'm going to do. And I'll show you a close-up of that. Okay, there's the close-up of the eye. So it's a little bit thicker in the center here. It has two little portions coming out for the corner of the eye, and then it has a little cat's eye on the end. You can also give yourself a little bit of a guideline for the eyelid and the white section under the tiger's eye. And I just did that very softly because I'll go over it with pen. Okay, you want to get your eraser and get rid of that guideline. It's not needed anymore. It's okay if you can still see some of your guidelines because we're going to go over everything with pen and do a full rub out anyway. So we've got all our basics here. So I'm coming in with just a black ballpoint pen. Ballpoint pens are the ones with the metal ends. The felt tip ones are the ones with the little material black tips or blue tips on the end. So this one doesn't activate with water, not that it matters with this one because we're not turning it into a watercolour. So all I want you to do now is very, very lightly go over each of your lines. We're going to do that together. But if you are advanced, a little bit older, what I would really like you to do is use your kneadable rubber or blue tack and just lightly rub over the top of some of your sections, because you will remember from all the pen art that we've done before, the pens don't really like to work over the top of shiny pencils, so that's why it's really good just to lighten it right up. If you're little, don't worry too much about that because you may not have some blue tack or kneadable rubber at home. So now we can go over, and I'm going to wobble these lines because I don't want it to be perfect. If your pen doesn't work or it starts to stop working, what you can do is flip your page over and do a bit of a scribble or keep a scrap bit of paper handy. So it really doesn't like working over the top of lead. Chin, I'm going to put some spikes and hairy bits in. I don't want it to be a perfect line. Again, if you're little, you can just do a smooth line, that's fine. And also, if you're little, you can turn this into a watercolour or a coloured pencil picture as well. And you'd add that colour in at the end once you've done your outlining. I'm going to do some flicks, start changing direction. Okay, so you're going to lightly keep going over each of your lines that you drew. The more sort of wavy and flicky you do the ends of the hair, the more realistic it looks. So you've got a really good basic structure. You can also go over that eye. If you've only got a thicker pen, that's fine too. You'll just have much thicker lines and just use the very tip of it rather than pressing down with the whole weight of a Sharpie or permanent marker if you've got a thicker pen. You can also colour in this mouth. So you can press quite a lot with that. You can even cross hatch, so you can come and colour in one way and then colour across in the next direction or opposite direction. I'd start building up your darkest areas first. So I'm going to build up a little bit more on the mouth. Then I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to rub out all of the pencil work. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just a colouring motion. If you prefer to do this in pencil only, that's fine too. Turn your page, not yourself. If you tend to press too hard with pens, you may want to do the infill with a 6B or something when we're doing all of the fur, because it is all about pressure control. Another thing we can colour in is the nose. Again, we can cross hatch this. So colour in one direction, then turn it and colour in the opposite direction, cross hatching. It's a little checkered pattern. Okay, so I'm going to take a moment to get rid of all of my pencil work with my eraser. I'm going to put it on pause for 1 sec and just rub all that out, and then I'll be back ready to do the detail. Okay, so I've rubbed out all of my pencil and I'm coming back in with my pen and I'm going to start building up some shadow. So I'm going to start in the hair first, the mane. Back and forward flicking. Keep the ends nice and soft. You can do it in little clumps, light clumps and then dark clumps. Just don't press so hard with the lighter ones. Just graze your pen very softly over the top. It's fine to go off your page as long as you've got something down on the table. Just be careful. You may need a piece of newspaper or paper towel just to protect mum and dad's table. This is my craft table, so I'm not worried about it. So don't go crazy and just do lots of lines everywhere. You really want to concentrate on where it's going to be a little bit darker in some spots and then softer in others. So focusing on darkening one sort of side and then having a lighter side. And sort of darkening the lines a little. Just the outlines and then keeping it soft in the center. And then what I like to do is just sort of put a few little lines in the distance here in the background, just so it looks like it is continuing, but it gets softer and softer and disappears as you come out. And you can literally spend hours doing just the mane. So it depends on how much detail you like. If you're a very detailed person, spend a lot longer flicking these, okay? It gives the illusion it's continuing all the way out. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to focus in on this ear, so I'm going to zoom in and then I'll leave it zoomed in for the face because we've got some facial features to do. Okay, so what I'm going to do is very softly use a short colouring motion to do this ear. So I'm going to keep it quite dark next to the little tufts of fur in that ear. So I want the fur to be the lightest part, and I'm going to go softer and softer as I come out. So again, this is about pressure control. You just don't press too hard when you come out to the edges. So just grazing your pen over. Takes a bit of practice, so if you need to, get a scrap bit of paper and just practice a bit of pressure control. Nice and simple. Okay, we can move on to do the face now. So again, we're going to use pressure control for this one. So it's a colouring motion, but extremely soft, and you're just dragging the pen. See how much softer that is compared to how dark this is? This is pressing and really using the ball of the pen to really get out as much ink as possible. This is using sort of the side of that. And no, it's not just all over the line. You don't just go crazy and colour everything. Try to follow each of the areas that I'm doing. Coming out from the eye. Extremely softly. Left a little portion of light. Darker under the eye. And there's a dark portion that joins to the nose for that structure of the face. A little bit of shading on top of the nose. Don't forget, if your pen stops working, you can either just scribble it in your mane to get it going or on a scrap bit of paper. So see how light it is? It's only just coming out. Again, it's not everywhere on the face, so don't go crazy. A bit on the cheek. And keeping it short. It gets really tempting to do full-blown colouring. You don't want to do that because it ends up looking like really long fur on the face. So the shorter you keep these little colouring lines, the better. Just shadow up the face. Underneath the mouth. And darken a bit of the shading in this area because the mane will be causing a shadow on the face. And again, you can cross hatch. You don't have to cross hatch the whole face, which you can if you'd like to. So be careful not to add too much ink because you don't want to turn it into a really dark lion, unless that's the look you're going for. I'm trying to keep it so it's looking like he's facing the sun and having a little bit of a sleep with his head up. So I want to keep these particular areas very light. So I'm purposely not adding too much to those areas that would be touching the sun. What we can also do is add some little dots for the whiskers. And I'm going to curve them up with the face. So I'm curving them up, I'm not keeping them straight. That makes them a little bit unrealistic. So they come up with the cheek. Just like that. Then you can do some whiskers. Again, don't go crazy with the whiskers. They're not all that long. They shouldn't really come past the chin. Probably just enough. You don't have to do flicks for every single dot. That should do the trick. And I'm going to zoom out and see what else needs to be done. Okay. I'm just going to soften the highlight here, add a little bit more shadow here. Again, you could spend literally hours doing this main. Okay, so that's pretty much all you need to do. So, of course, the last thing I always get you guys to do is write your name or sign it if you've got a signature. And then I always put the year as well. So important to put the year down so you know exactly when you did it. Okay, so that is another lesson done. So I will see you guys for the next one. Well done.